Recorded live from the heart of the Bakken, it's the Williston Works Podcast.
Welcome to the Williston Works Podcast, brought to you by the City of Williston. Williston Works brings you in-depth discussions with the entrepreneurs, small business owners, and investors who are getting it done in Williston, North Dakota. I'm your host, Sean Wenko, Executive Director of the Economic Development Office for the City of Williston. And today's guest, we have Shanna Zast with us. She is owner with her husband, Zach. You guys own Walt's Market. Shanna, great to have you on the podcast with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, we're filming today here in Hobsonberry. This is, I want to point out, because I think this is kind of a break from our traditional, where we have filmed in the office. And this was a great entrepreneurial project, similar to what we're going to talk about with Walt's Market.
Right.
But, for anybody listening out there, well, why does the background look weird and we're sitting into a pub? Well, it's we wanted to have a little bit of fun with this.
It's a pretty amazing place. So.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, but Shanna, tell me a little bit about Walt's Market. What do you guys provide? What sort of services are there?
Well, right now we kind of are geared toward, we have a custom smokehouse. So that's any kind of sausage, pepper sticks, jerky. So we make all that in-house. And then we also have a fresh meat case where I have a meat cutter who cuts fresh every day. We grind fresh burger every day. So things in there have never been frozen, always fresh. We get in a truck a couple days a week. And we have limited groceries, and like I was going to say before, we kind of have shifted gears a little bit with given the things going on. We provide a little more than at first what we decided to have. We kind of have built on that a little bit, just on what consumer needs and wants.
Sure. Well, and there's a little bit of history with Walt's Market, and if you go back, I know if you visit your Facebook page, you'll see when you were doing a remodel, it was kind of neat. You showed like 3 different generations of signs as it came down.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Walt's Market was actually started in 1942, and what I was told was Walt and his wife started out of their home originally, and this is the 3rd location. So he was retired when it was moved to the building we're currently in, but he still worked with Dwayne DeMars and Dave Slace. So yeah, there's a lot of history. I grew up down the street, never knowing, I go down there as a kid for penny candy. I'm sure you went down there too.
Yeah.
And who would have thought I would have owned it how many years later? I'm not going to say how many years later, but how many years later. So yeah, there's a lot of history. We could have never thought of changing any, the name. It's just an iconic thing. If you've, lived here very long, you just know. So yeah, when you were talking about remodel, it was kind of neat. We took down the sign, and so there was the sign from the previous owner, and then there was a sign under that, and then we found another sign under that, and that one was probably from the 80s. So yeah, we just kind of went back to basics with it, white and black, and did red lettering. And what's kind of cool is Dave Slace, his dad was Clarence Slace, he ran the store we're in now, and he actually, the store was white with red lettering, so he thought that was kind of neat. So yeah, kind of brought it back to,
Yeah. One of the questions I always have with the guests on the podcast is what brought you to Williston? But I'm not going to ask that question because, you were born and raised here.
Yep.
I believe your husband, Zach, was born and raised here as well.
Yep.
We won't get into, with you and I, how many years we've been around, so we're not going to touch base on that. But so you've been here. You've seen the value of Williston. You've seen the ups and downs. And, I'm curious, what moved you guys to say, hey, you know what, we should buy that meat market, and we should own that as a family business?
It's kind of funny how it came about, because here I had my last child was graduating, and, free to do whatever I want, and all of a sudden, this opportunity came about. Dwayne DeMars approached me, had heard that, the owner was possibly selling Walt's, and my dad has been in the smokehouse business for close to 30 years, and we just thought, it'd be so nice to bring it back to what it once was, Walt's, what it once was, and it just kind of went from there. I was kind of like at first, but I had such a good backbone. My meat cutter has close to 50 years experience, And that's just experience in a trade you just can't find anymore. So
Right.
I knew it was going to be a struggle, or not a struggle, but a challenge, I should say. But I knew I had a really good backbone for the business, and all I had to do was kind of fill in spaces. So,
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, it truly is a family business, because I didn't add that, is your dad, like you said, with the history of meat cutting and smoking stuff, he is helping you guys out, correct?
Yeah,
he's been kind of
my smokehouse guy, and he was trained up in Canada by an old German smoke guy, and so he's got the training, he's got the knowledge, and so he's got quite a few of his secrets and his recipes that he's used for years and we still use today. So yeah.
And Mike's been around forever. Everybody knows Mike.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's
Yep.
again, it's just another great addition to
and that was
to
the
Walt's
nice thing, is we have a lot of familiar faces. I've got people who've worked in this industry working there. There's at least 3-4 of them that are ones that they just know.
Yeah, and that's what you need. And I'll tell you, the comments coming out about Walt's and the quality that people are seeing, that's why you guys are successful. And one of the things, you look at now, because you're relatively new, when you guys took over Walt's, and I don't think anybody could have projected what has happened to us with COVID-19, as well as the drop in oil prices.
Right.
Initially, when this all kind of took off, what did you guys see in terms of business? How did it affect you guys from the initial? Let's go back to March.
So, it was kind of like we had no idea. We had no idea what to expect. We knew we were essential, so we knew we would stay open as long as we could, and we never did close. But it just seemed like, little by little, people started stocking up, and then it got to the point where we were grinding like tons of meat and literally running out. Right. And so we ended up having to kind of put a limit on things. But yeah, it was crazy. We had people lined up like it was Christmas, from the meat counter to the front, and from the front in line back to the meat counter. It was just, it was constant. And we were getting asked for things that, we never would have carried. There was a yeast shortage, who would have thought, just weird things like that. And it kept going for quite some time, and we were kind of worried. We're like, okay, when are people's freezers going to be full? When are they going to get to the point where they're going to be like, okay, we're stocked up, But it was nothing we could have expected. It changed every week. Was something somebody needed, and then we were to the point where the warehouses and the distributors were running out of items, and so that was kind of scary, because we didn't really want to ever have to bring in anything frozen. And at one point we did have to bring in some frozen things, but it was just the point of needing, the needs and the wants. So
sure. Well, and another thing that I saw that you guys are doing, and this goes back to that, what I really love about Williston entrepreneurs is there's this kind of feeling to give back to the community. And when this was all going on, I would see this advertising for free lunch pickup off the front. So I think you had partnered. Maybe you want to explain that a bit, but you guys were providing some free lunches out there.
We were.
In a time when everybody was just scared and things were tough out there. But what was that like? What did that look like?
We weren't quite sure how it would take off. The first day it was like 50, and then some of the days we were serving up to, almost 200 kids. And at first we kind of partnered with a few people, local people were like, here's some money, and then it just started pouring in. We ended up getting a grant. We just had such overwhelming, support. Like, I could not believe the amount of people, and I wish I had the numbers for how many lunches we actually did serve. But we, and I tried to go, first it was sandwiches and chips, and I tried to change it up, because you'd get sick of that every day too, So we would do like pancakes and bacon, or we would do, things that were easy to take. Coke, they donated water. It was just great. So, and the thankfulness, the parents were so happy, and it was a relief in the sense of, a break even from them having to do the homeschooling type thing and the online work. And it was just one less thing that some of these parents, they come in, some families with 6 kids, and they'd come in every day, and they were so thankful. So I felt almost guilty ending it, but it had to end at some point.
Yeah, and again, that was, we were providing free lunches to students because obviously the schools were closed and everybody was homeschooling. And it goes back to, I just love how people in this community, they give back.
They do.
Even during the times of, we're in a pandemic, we got crashing oil prices.
Exactly.
And I tell that to investment all the time, is that you got to look at the Midwestern values, because there's a lot of potential out here, and it's just much different than what you'd see, like, let's say if you're developing on the East or West Coast.
The values, and it's just crazy. The people, you could tell there were some people who didn't have much of their own, had lost jobs, and they would give a couple dollars here and there, just and they're the ones that we were gearing this towards, and here they're giving back what they could. It was really great. I met a lot of wonderful kids and families, and so it was really great.
You're right. Like I said, we were born and raised here, and there's no place I'd rather be, because you just see how everybody comes together and still works together.
Yep.
So when you guys were up and getting started, you did a lot of work with the Small Business Development Center in Keith Olson.
Yep.
And so, if a lot of people they don't know out there is Keith and I work very close between the two offices, where Keith does a lot of the business planning and initial consultation up front, and then we take it to what's called the STAR Fund. STAR Fund is a 1-cent city sales tax, where a quarter of that penny goes into what we call jobs creation, and we use it for different types of programs. I believe we worked with you guys. We did the low interest loan program, and then we also turned around and did the mini match program, which kind of helped with the front. What when you guys were working through that phase, if you were talking to potential entrepreneurs out there, is there any advice you would give them off the front end that maybe you wish you knew now? As opposed to where you're at today?
Definitely patience. We had a few obstacles that maybe were a little out of the ordinary, but it took a lot longer than we thought, so that's one thing is, plan for this amount and add on extra time. Working with Keith was great. He helped us with develop our business plan, and he was so helpful with things I had no idea that I needed. So that he was really great. I worked with the small business, the SBA loan, Dakota Lending, and they were great. So reach out to your resources for sure, because there's a lot more than planning it and signing the papers. There's just so much that goes into it, and so many facts and figures and numbers. So, yeah.
Well, and that's a good point, is that we always try to point out through the Economic Development Office or Small Business Development, there's a lot of programs out there.
There are.
Unfortunately, people don't know about them. And so, with our offices, we can help with that. So, when you're talking about, SBA loans or different avenues that might be out there, we try to direct people in that area. Any final comments on Walt's Market that you would like to add? I love the support of the community. We kind of had some obstacles. We had to make it our own brand. The previous owners, they did their own thing, and we wanted to make it our own thing. And we had so much support, and people that knew this little corner market back when. We have people coming in still, which is crazy to me, saying it's the first time I've been in since you've taken over, and it's been over a year and a half. And just the overwhelming support between, the different, like we said, resources between the Downtowners Association and the Chamber. They've been great with helping spread, everything that's going on, spread any kind of events we've been partaking in, things like that. But people giving us a chance, saying, hey, we'll come back, we'll see what you have to offer, and we've had some really great feedback. So the future of Walt's Market, because I know when you guys got up and started, you turned it into a successful business, and for a lot of people that would be enough. But then all of a sudden you call and you're like, hey, we're going to upgrade the facade and give it a different look. So you won't stay idle too long.
No.
Where does the future go with Walt's Market? Any big plans that you can share with us?
I don't know. Right now, we've even had comments, or you should expand into Watford, and I don't know, that'd be something I got to handle this right now. But we just want to keep bringing in new items, new products. Sure. We carry a lot of Pride of Dakota, so I liked a lot of new things. I like to keep it new and exciting and have, new items, new ideas.
And that's a good thing too. We didn't touch on at the front of this podcast, but in addition to the meat and the smoking, you've got a tremendous amount of accessories there. I mean, you've got soups. And I believe you have seasons galore.
Yeah, we have a whole spice cave, and we tried to do. We've got quite a bit of like Dwayne DeMars's things, but then we've got things from Texas. We've got things from Devil's Lake, and we do try to touch on that whole Pride of Dakota quite a bit. But we even have decor, as much as Zach wasn't happy about that. But the wives and the ladies sure are. So, yeah, we have a little of everything, really.
You got to listen to your wife. If I can give Zach one piece of advice, you got to listen to your wife when you're talking about it. And they're always right.
Yep.
So,
yep.
If I don't know where Walt's Market is at, where can I find you guys?
We are located on the corner of 11th and University, so it's 922 University Avenue.
Okay, and Facebook page, website?
We have our Facebook page, it's under the new Walt's Market, and then we also have our page, it's waltzmarketnd.com.
Okay.
Yep. So.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank you, Shanna, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
I mean, Walt's Market, what you guys have done with that has just been tremendous. I can tell you the reviews have been awesome. I go there pretty I love the hamburger you can get there, and I bought a bunch of ribs for 4th of July, and they're just tremendous.
Perfect.
So.
That's what we like to hear.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Williston Works podcast. It's brought to you by the City of Williston. Please like and subscribe for more interviews and content, and to learn more about Williston, North Dakota, visit cityofwilliston.com. I'm Sean Wenko, Executive Director of the Economic Development Office here for the City of Williston. We will see you next time.